Challengers kicked off last week with the Elite Season 1, and it was jam-packed with action. We see some underdogs surge from the bottom, maybe steal some games from some of those at the top, and I think speaking of the top teams, it's getting a little bit windy up there atop their towers that are there. It was a hell of a week, and we're glad to have you here. Welcome to This Week in Challengers. Before we dive on into everything that happened in the Elite, we did have another Challengers Cup that happened this weekend, or at least, wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update of what happened there. Kickstarting with North America Enigma, we had 4 fun esports continue to dominate. If you missed out one of our earlier episodes, go check it out because we talked about this roster and kind of assumed like, hey, we thought that they were going to make it into the Elite. They don't, and we were fully expecting them to kind of run Worlds in these Challengers Cups, and it turns out that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, it is. I mean, for anyone that missed the qualifier, they basically end up playing against Bush Gaming in the decider after Bush Gaming unexpectedly fell from the top bracket. So they were very unlucky. It's the way it can play out sometimes with these double alien brackets, and it's a very good team. Wiz, Dak, Flames, and Gunzy. Anyone that's been around the NA scene should know these names. And yeah, they're a very good side. We're not surprised to see them look very good out here. I mean, looking at their run, it's like 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, 4-1 in final. So yeah, they were smooth, and that was. And I'm curious, before the round of 16, they must have been cruising as well. Some of the teams they beat on the way as well, like Cabal Black, Stallions Red, and then obviously twice over the team in the end, who came second, which was Zuner, Legend, Mirage, and Collect. So obviously a lot of story there about that team ending up placing second.
Yeah, I love that we kind of talk about this because obviously for fun, it's like you mentioned, it's 3-0s all the way through. They only drop one map, and it is in that grand final against Legend's new team, playing alongside fellow Halo Pro Collect. Not as familiar with Zuner and Mirage. Gonna be honest with you. Hey, if you in the community want to give us some nice little tidbits, let us know. Definitely have our eyes looking at them now, though, because I mean it's not easy just to go ahead. You form a brand new team, you come on in, you make it all the way to grand finals in your very first cup. I think it's something that we just have to respect and we have to be looking at, right? When we kind of look at that, love to see Legend, obviously, after the little bit of drama that he had with that Stallions Red roster, be able to come out, find his feet. And looking pretty damn good that was there. Only other thing, obviously we have this new death penalty team coming in third, and that Stallions Red roster in fourth. So a couple of new squads to keep our eyes on. But let's talk about a little bit about EMEA Enigma as we kind of look at this real quick. The big thing here is that we have actually no European teams in our top side of the cup. Saudi Arabia coming on through. They're a new addition to this region, right? Transitioning from EU to EMEA, and they are at least our top 3. The Alula team able to come all the way through. They actually make this insane sort of losers bracket run that's looking really good. But this R8 team was looking pretty solid as well.
Yeah, I there's something to kind of say when it comes to this. Now, I don't know how to say the fella's name. Abdulatif? You're going to have to correct me. You guys, sure, whatever. Put the accent on it. But it's a case for me of that is a player that had really stood out during this cup run. And I know that Copy over at the pit was talking about him, saying, like, look, this is a guy that you should keep an eye on. Seems to be a big up-and-comer for sure. What I will say, and a lot of European teams are going to hate me for this. They complain a lot about the fact that they have to play against the Middle Eastern teams on ping, not really understanding that goes both ways. There are two sides to that coin, and when you're hosting, you're basically host fucking the other side. That's just how this is going to work. It's like an East team playing against a West team in North America. It's not great. It's the situation that we're in, though. It's what you've got to play amongst. And honestly, the Saudi team's coming out and dominating this. I think it shows two things. One, there is a giant gap between the top European teams and the lower European teams. But then also, the Saudis very happy to fill that gap because it seems they're here to, they see an opportunity. They're hungry, and they're here to come and take what's theirs. Yeah,
and I think that's what's going to be really fun. I mean, we've seen a number of teams come from that region and players from that region kind of be able to make a name for themselves. I know there's been a little bit of hype around QK, maybe with some rumors that are in the mill right now. So very excited to see that. Obviously, we had talked about this, right? When you have these top teams that kind of make their way to the Elite and now are not featured in this cup, how did this cup look in this region? And I'm glad we're seeing some new players get some notoriety on their name.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And hopefully, between you and me, we get the opportunity to see a few more of them up in the Elite. I think that it would be pretty cool to sit there and say, okay, are you just the best of the rest? Or can you mix it with some of the top players?
Let's talk about our first 2 days of the group stage, though, for Elite One, kicking it off with North America. Now, we said it in the intro, Enigma, where we, I think, had a pretty good idea about how some of these games would play on out. As casters, sometimes we're wrong, and that's okay. We were like half wrong, I think. Some really sort of fantastic moments from some of these teams that maybe are looked at as underdogs in this space, taking games off of some of the top teams and start to make some of these standings look very, very interesting. We're going to talk about sort of the elite qualifications and who's going what needs to happen in a little bit. But let's just talk about these first 2 days that we had, man, because I think there were some really fantastic teams that really came on out and showcased that they should have some eyes on them.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to start off with Group A, of course. So this is Five Fears, this is Darkside, Eric Boom, Rex, KB. I mean, did I see them being an okay team? Sure. I put them down as like one of my teams maybe on the cusp, maybe like a 4th place team that was going to be scrapping out with like High Treason and For Fun Black. Yeah, we were fucking wrong there. We were way off. Five Fears come out, deliver big. I mean, 3-0 against For Fun is impressive. They lose to High Treason of all teams, who have also shocked everybody. I feel like this group, we kind of lined up, it'll be Bush, Brooklyn, and everyone else will have to scrap for their lives. And they said group of death for who? And I've taken over. The one thing I will say, we couldn't have predicted the next threat situation. I think that's the one asterisk we get to put next to our name, how that's changed the dynamic. But Five Fears, For Fun Black in particular, have really come out and shown what they're made of.
Yeah, I think we saw in a couple of those games. I think, Yeez, while we have a lot of really, has a really high ceiling, I think we're seeing with just a little bit, maybe as not much time to develop with that team as they would have liked. Struggled in a lot of those series, right? And I think this isn't be like, Yeez is a terrible player, but sometimes you just got to call it out, right? Like was slotted in at the last kind of moment, the midnight hour, to come in with this next threat team. And just obviously they need a little bit of time to gel. If they don't obviously make it out of these group stages, which they already haven't, right? Being 0-4 after the first day, they will not be making it to the bracket side, which means they will not be automatically qualified for Elite 2. So they're going to have to go ahead, find those pro points, do what they need. I actually don't think that's the worst case scenario for that team, right? You have Yeez, be forced a little bit to have to play on through, get some of that gel, because I think that's still a roster on paper that should still be taking maps and should still be taking series against any of the other teams that are here. Would love to be able to see him kind of have a nice little bounce back.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough for Yeez. I think for 2 reasons. One, as you said, you're getting dropped in the last second. 2, you are just not a direct replacement for Exceed. This system that they had worked really well. And at the last moment, they've had to change out for a player that just didn't really fill the same gap. And also, I think it's showing just how good Exceed has actually been this season, that he's improved the Carolina Royal Ravens. So it was kind of shit hitting the fan for next threat, which is really rough going into your first Elite season. But this team will be back. These group of players will be back. Whether Yeez is still a part of it or not, I don't know. True. But I'd fully expect all 4 of these players to be in the Elite come stage 2.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good shout too. Do we even see Yeez stay on this next threat roster? Do they realize like, hey, we're so used to having all this firepower. Do we bring in a player who can kind of easily more bring in the firepower that Exceed brought? But on Group B side, Group A, I think, we kind of mentioned that there wasn't really a group of death. I think after this, first 2 days, Group A definitely a lot more competitive because it's a little bit more clean on the Group B side. I think the team that I really want to highlight is Project Notorious, right? We obviously know that these are 4 players who are really great. That's, of course, 2 Real, Geo, Awakening, and Yuli. But, dude, I don't know what Yuli had for breakfast on those 2 days, but him and Geo were going absolutely sicko mode all over the 2 days. Dude, a 12-2 map count after those 2 days is pretty ridiculous. They end 4-0. They already secured their spot, of course, in the bracket just off of those first 2 days of playing. Don't even have to worry about really games this week. But that is a team that I'm really think that we need to put some more respect on, especially when it comes up to future elites, because there's like the stat lines that you can look at, but then there's just the eye test, dude, of watching POVs, and they were looking gross all the way through.
Yeah, they've only dropped 2 maps thus far as well, which both of those were to Falcons Academy. They win in the game 5 there, but otherwise just straight 3-0s. The one thing I will say about this Project Notorious team, and of course Yumi did a lot of prep because we're fortunate enough to get cast over the Elite. It's a case that for this team of they rarely slip up. Very rarely do they slip up against sides that they should beat. They've achieved that here. Their one big question mark is, can you win against other top squads? Now, before coming into the season, I would have said that was Bush and Brooklyn. Right now, I don't know who the top squad is in North America, to be completely honest with you. So I don't know who it is that they should or shouldn't beat. to answer that question. Obviously, when we get to playoff bracket, they've just got to knock down the dominoes in front of them. But the form that they're in and the way that they're playing, I honestly have them tipped to be my favorite right now. I think that they look that good. There was a funny tweet, though, that I saw, and it's very true when it comes to Yuli. If this guy's playing without 2 Real, he's fine. When he's playing with 2 Real, I don't know what the fuck he does. These guys love playing around each other so good and have turned these guys into a next level team.
Yeah, no, and I'm really excited. I think when it kind of comes to, of course, these future elites and seeing, like you mentioned, when they're already feeling good, they're only going to get better once they get to continue to play against these better teams as well. Unfortunate situation for Group B is after those first 2 days. Unfortunately, Stallions Black had a lot of hype around them, trying to ride that high of beating your sister team in order to get on in here. And unfortunately, you fall short. 0-4 after the first 2 days. It's 3 O's, and you took 1 map off of Cabal, right, in order to get here, like, not feeling too good, obviously, when it kind of looks at that. So hopefully you can go back to the drawing board. They had some moments of greatness when we were kind of watching them. We, unfortunately, didn't get a chance to watch the full series because of a certain, gamer of the Roblox variety and absolute scumbag of a human being, ruining just a great time for everyone. Doesn't matter, though. We didn't get to watch them as much as we wanted to on main, but at least the little bit we did, I could see the signs of greatness, but I also think there's a difference between being good and being great. And when you had to go up against a lot of these other teams, I think just a lot of your cracks started to show.
I think the problem for them is they're a momentum team. And when we were casting over them, they looked great map 1. If they had fully taken that map and we move on through the series, I think they look pretty good from there. Do I think they take the series? I don't know, but like they looked good. And as soon as they end up checked out, they don't come back from it. That's just what it is. They're 4 players who, I mean, I'm not going to point at all 4 of them, but there's certainly the elements in that team where they cannot recover from setbacks. So I think that's what we're seeing here. You basically end up getting screwed over a little bit, completely out of your control, and mentally just completely shot.
A series we did want to highlight, right? When we kind of started the show, this was what we really wanted to do, which is dive into some of these matchups, dive into some of these maps and modes, and just to kind of really do a little bit deeper analysis. And I think this is a really interesting map to see here in EMEA, because on one side, we got to cast Telluride Bush against Ome Brooklyn, right? We thought that was going to be a game 5, surely a bang out all the way to the end. Telluride Bush come on in, and they absolutely chokeslam Brooklyn in a 3-0. Come on out, and we're thinking like, oh, Bush is about to go 2-0 after their first day. They got 4 Fun as their second game. Great, they're going to ride that momentum all the way. They go up against this 4 Fun roster, and this was, I think, the matchup that really kind of turned our heads for this team, because obviously it goes to a game 5 before Fun Esports able to take down the Bush. And they end, of course, 3-1. They're one of those losses that they are able to give Telluride Bush. Let's talk about this series as a whole, because not only is it a map 5, but it's also a reverse sweep.
I feel like there's so many things to potentially talk about with this. I don't know how we keep it under wrap. It is a case of, for Bush, this was the team that you lost to in the qualifier. You were shocked by, but it was one of those moments where it was like, okay, well, for Fun, was that just one really good series? Did the stars align, or have you hit a new level? Because these 4 players have largely suffered mostly top 16 placings through the season. They only came together for Cup 3. And also for Peel and Zvik, this is 2 new players, 2 challengers. So it's one of those moments where you're kind of like, what the hell's going on? When they go 2-0 down in the series, we're thinking, okay, business as usual kind of situation. 4 Fun come out, smoke the overload, which Bush Gaming have got to figure out what the hell they're doing in that mode if they ever want to be considered serious contenders. But for me, and I know that you want to touch on this as well, it's the Blackheart hard point. The fact that you end up winning this so comfortably, that was the moment where I suddenly went, oh no, this team's the real deal.
Yeah, no, and it's, if you go look at the stats for North America, for the Elite, Blackheart was played 13 times over those sort of group stages so far. The next closest was like 7 and 6 for some of the more standards, scars, dens, exposures that were there. So this Blackheart, obviously we saw it get added in the mix, but what's interesting to me, dude, is that it feels like this Blackheart can kind of become maybe this surprise map, this linchpin map that you can have in your back pocket. You start it on map number 1, it's a bang out, right? You set the tone, you are flying at each other, and you really can come out swinging. Or in the case where here, you leave it for that map 4, right? They come on out, they win that overload, cool. You got some momentum on your side. You carry that momentum into this bang out map number 4. That's a lot of juice you're going to have going into that search and destroy on Scar, because this wasn't close on Blackheart either. It was 250 to 123, dude. You absolutely slammed coming on into that Blackheart, you are feeling so good. And now you've rattled the cage of the Bush, right? They're starting to maybe feel the pressure because, okay, you got in that back of your mind. Is it the reverse sweep? We just got slammed on an overload and slammed on a hard point. Can we lock it on in the search? I think that this Blackheart is going to be a map that we have to watch for some of these teams in the coming elites, because it really could become, I think, a thorn in the side for teams that are underprepared.
Well, if you click actually on map 4 there, an incredible feature of the Breaking Point website is that it will give us the specific map by map data. So it's a situation where, yeah, you're right, it wasn't close. Like Prolute and Spark.
Look at these KDs.
Prolute and Spark get absolutely RKO'd off the top row. Like, that is ridiculous. 15, 26, 16, and 27. That is a obliteration. And it's Peel in particular that stands out the most there. 31 and 19, 3k damage, putting on a show. Again, a new player. I think what the Blackheart brings, you're right about map 1 being these kind of bang outs, but I think for the lesser teams, in a sense, like, of course, putting that quotation marks as respectfully as possible, it throws a bit of an unpredictable element into the series, because teams like Bush, teams like EMEA, they're going to want to focus on those maps where it's all about the fundamentals. Whereas for fun here, obviously, they came off that 6-1 exposure overload, and they were kind of like, we've got all the momentum on our side, and there's nothing better taking all of that straight into a bang-out map like Blackheart, and quite frankly, you can see the end result.
Yes, dude. I mean, it's also, too, it's like one of those, like, Blackheart's just like one of those map mans. When you're shooting, you're shooting. You say, please, run me. 3 of you all at once on one of those lanes. Like, we'll go ahead and rip. But to me, it was just interesting, right? I think this highlighted a couple core things. One is that for fun, we have to keep looking at them. Blackheart is obviously going to be a problem for them. So now, does this become an auto veto against them? And now you leave another map wide open. Like, there's a lot of big question marks. The things to Telluride Bush, though, that it does show us is we do need to work on some of that, I think, mental fortitude. Saw some great comms coming out from Coach Donnie Temp. And so if you haven't watched the owners meeting that came out, they had some great words as well of what they're doing to help course correct the team. But you said it, my best friend. When we watched that Omit Brooklyn, game against Telluride Bush, we thought that the Bush had maybe gone to the lab, had figured out overload. This tells me they haven't, that it was a fluke against that Omit Brooklyn team. They do not know how to play this game mode. They have no idea what they're doing. A 6-1 is you are just not understanding how to hold the right lanes at the right time. Quick caps are coming through. It's just not looking good. Yeah. I think if you are the Telluride Bush, you obviously you're a team that has hard point, search and destroy down. I would almost just say, can you only scrim overload? Can you figure it out in that manner? Can you only run overload scrims for a day or two and really figure out this game mode?
Well, if I remember right against Brooklyn, they win it on Scar, so maybe they figured out one map, but yeah, like, it's just not good. It's not good, and you can't have this. You can't be a top team and have a glaring weakness, because it allows moments like this. It allows your opponents to build up ahead of steam. Most of the best teams we've ever seen in competitive COD, they 3-0 squads, and to do that, you've got to be good across all 3. You can't just sit there and go, oh, well, we're up 2, we'll happily throw away the overload. And that seems to be the case right now. And again, just looking at those specific numbers, man, like Capsule goes positive, who is playing, by the way, at a ridiculous rate at the minute. But Fire Pro and Spark heavily negative. And no surprise that they get absolutely mollywopped. Just reading the data, let alone, you, me, cast it. We got to do the eye test and all that stuff. It wasn't good.
No, it was not good. So we'd love to see both of these teams kind of be, on the side of For Fun, continue what they're doing, and for the Telluride Bush, learn from this mistake. But I think that this was a really fun series just to go ahead and watch, keep our eyes on, and will we see any more like this in the coming days? On the EMEA side, it was a little bit more calm. I think we can say that, right? We had kind of posited this idea that Clutch Rain and Rock would have no problem with their groups, that P7 and Dark Horse were teams that probably look pretty solid, and it kind of feels like business as usual, Enigma, over on the EMEA side. Let's start with Group A. This Night Vibes team, I think, was one that I had a lot of, support for. I thought they were going to start doing really well after some recent performances, but man, it just feels like something didn't happen for them over these sort of first 2 days of groups, ending at 1-3.
Yeah, tough to lose a game 5 to 3-1. I think that's the real problem for them at the minute. You see that off your 2-2, you're tied with the team above you. You actually go top 3 based on head-to-heads. So yeah, it's a tough situation to be in right now for them. Obviously, we're going to get onto the whole qualification permutations situation, but I think the problem Night Vibes have is it's Gentle or nothing. Like, don't get me wrong, Raze, Soul, Shay, Charm, they're not bad players, not by any stretch, but Gentle's their X factor.
Yes.
And if you end up in a game 5 situation, the problem they have is even the best S&D players in the world, you can only be so impactful. You get one life. If the opposing team know how to shut you down, they know where you like to play, etc., they've done their homework, you just get rid of him. So I think that's what Treaty One Gaming do. They kind of keep him quiet. And then, it's just... the one thing I will say, you and me both do the pick'ems. NA, I'm doing all right. I'm doing pretty well. EU, I got pretty much everything. And I think that sums up the region right now.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of doing what we expected them to.
Yeah, that's really what it is, right? I mean, obviously, bracket might be a different story when we get there, but are any of us going to be surprised when we tune into the grand finals of the EMEA Elite One bracket and it's Clutch Rain versus Rock? I don't think so.
Nope.
You know, maybe Dark Horse or P7 can have some type of upset. Maybe that'd be cool. But I don't know. It's just very clear to me that there's two teams that are cut above the rest. There's maybe a little bit of a mid pack, and then it's just a chasm between them and then the next group of teams. And I think that's even referenced when we even look at Group B, right? Where we'd be remiss not to talk about it, right? We had a team qualify into the bracket. Day one, they don't play some of the games, and it's, there's some accusations going on the timeline from the Light Unlimited org that come on out, and it actually turns out that, hey, that team gets removed from the Elite, and Light Unlimited is brought in. Now, there's, I think, some unfortunate things where they were, I believe, given a loss coming on through because it was like, hey, we can't replay that entire, sort of days worth of games later, but we'll let you reschedule some of them. And they come on through. Unfortunately, they do lose to Hybrid Nations. This isn't like super updated just yet, but Hybrid Nations just today did beat Light Unlimited. That's there. So even though they qualify their way on in, unfortunately, they still don't make it to the bracket side, which is just unfortunate to see. You look like you have a quizzical look on your face, my friend.
I'm triple checking this on the pit. I thought they'd give them the opportunity to play them all. If not, then that's really harsh.
They might have. I could be wrong. I thought that's what I had read. We were also like getting ready to cast, and I thought that's what I saw, but I also could be completely wrong. I mean, I hope they got to play all of them for certain.
I think initially it was going to be that Light Unlimited had to suffer a little bit, but then I think that they played one Saturday and one Monday. I think that
okay, cool.
Zepp and Mark covered one, and then maybe Brody on the other. I don't know, but I hope they got to play.
I'm just seeing right here, like these are obviously like listed as 0-0s, but maybe, like you said, maybe they hadn't had the opportunity to update this just yet.
On my screen, they're showing as a 1 and 3, so I'm not sure if there's something that was. I wonder if you've like
could have been updated literally the time we started recording this.
That would be our luck. But yeah, for Light Unlimited, it's just unfortunate because obviously the team that you end up not qualifying for originally is the losers, and then they end up getting put in last second, which no doubt by that point you're already thinking, okay, do we need to change this roster up because we didn't make the Elite? So yeah, that's tough. Las Antillas, that's the Spanish team, Nvidia and Co. We kind of expected that, and otherwise all four of these teams will go through. But I go back to what you said. I think you're completely right. Rock, P7, maybe they challenge Clutch, Rain, and Dark Horse, but yeah, interesting.
Now, the thing on everybody's minds as we have gone through, of course, 2 out of our 3 group play days is going to be who has already made their way to the bracket and what kind of situations need to go ahead and happen for your favorite team in order to make it to the bracket, because in both regions, there are some pretty, kind of things that will come down to the wire that we have to keep our eyes on. So let's start with North America here, Group A. Now, I built this little thing this morning, so if there's anything wrong or if it goes wonky, y'all can blame me in the comments. Flame me if you want. You can see here our standings that we had just talked about, though, right? So 5 Fears and 4 Fun already being 3-1. They have found their spot in the bracket already, so they're all set. Next threat down there at the bottom going 0-4. Unfortunately, see you later. We'll see you in the qualifications for Elite 2. But there are 3 teams that we have to keep our eyes on, right? Telluride Bush, Omit Brooklyn, and High Treason. When we had talked about earlier the Elite 1. The High Treason, I think taking some of those games makes this a lot more mixier than it needs to be. So let's talk about some of the scenarios that need to happen here, Enigma, right? So if we take a look at this first one, if Bush win versus High Treason, automatically Bush and Omit will be able to qualify for the playoffs. Now, if Bush lose and Omit win, Omit and High Treason will now qualify for the playoffs. And if Bush lose and both Omit lose, both Bush and High Treason will go ahead. They will qualify. This really comes down to me, Enigma. If you are one of these teams, basically what it comes through is that if your favorite team is playing in the next couple days, they just need to win and they're in, is what it kind of feels like,
I'm curious about a certain scenario here and how it plays out.
Okay.
And it's not here, so I don't know if you'll know it. What if both Brooklyn lose?
Yep.
And Bush lose?
If Bush lose and Brooklyn lose, it's because I believe the head-to-head, it's Bush and High Treason will qualify.
Yeah. Yeah, you're completely right. Yeah. So, no, I was just curious. I mean, this is exactly what we want, right? We want to go into, like, I know that you and me will be asked, who do you want to cast? And you and me straight away are going to be like, look, there's games with permutations all over them. There's games with so much on the line. And this Bush v High Treason matchup, this is Bush's biggest game of the year without a shadow of a doubt. Get through in the elite. We know the standards that they set over there, and if they don't get through it, I wouldn't be surprised to see them make changes. So, big shot. The thing is, High Treason have been so good, surprisingly. I would hate to see them not make it. So, yeah, it's tough. I mean, look, Omit, though, they've got to get through for fun. They're top in the group right now. Yeah. There's no reason to think that High Treason still couldn't get through even if they did lose to Bush.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of, I think, to me, I'm looking at Omit Brooklyn versus For Fun matchup. I think that one's going to be extra spicy because it's kind of one of those that obviously we have a lot of hype onto For Fun, right? That is there. But if Omit Brooklyn can come out and win that, and like we said, and Bush lose, well, then guess what? Unfortunately, it's going to be them and High Treason. But if both Bush and Omit Brooklyn can come out with a win, obviously they'll both make their way on. And unfortunately, High Treason will be left behind. That's there. But let's talk about Group B as well. Thankfully, Group B, it's a little bit more straightforward, right? We have 3 teams who have already qualified into that bracket side, being that P7 Notorious, Falcons Academy Green, and the Huntsmen, all with their 4-0, 3-1, 3-1 records are there. Still a little bit of a bubble situation between these bottom, though. So Stallions Black, even though they are 0-4, I think I maybe have misspoke earlier where I said they were eliminated. There's actually one situation where they can go ahead and they can make it on in. And that is basically they have to win 3-0 and Cabal has to lose. Okay. So Cabal is going ahead. They are playing Project Notorious. That's a big ask, my friend, for Cabal to for Cabal, to be able to go in, but also for Stallions Black, they also have to 3-0 Falcons Academy White as well, that's another big sort of question mark that's there. But let's start at the top. This Huntsman versus Falcons Academy Green, really this just matters for seeding when it comes to the bracket. Okay, cool. For Falcons Academy White, if they win, they will clinch as the 4th seed. We don't got to worry about anything else. If they lose, then guess what? That's where things get interesting. So that's where if they win and the Stallions beat Falcons Academy White in a 3-1 or 3-2, not 3-0, Cabal will make it on in. Otherwise, if they don't win in a 3-0, then obviously we can see there that go ahead. Stallions Black will go ahead. They'll make it on in. Cabal will not make it on in. It's a lot of interesting stuff, right? When it comes to Group B that's there that will go on through. So if you are a Stallions Black fan, there's a chance. There's a chance. It's just, I'm going to be honest with you, man. That's a hell of a slim chance.
It's very slender. It's very slender for sure. And one of the things to highlight through all of this is the reason why Falcons White are in the situation if they just have to win to get 4th seed and Cabal need all this crazy stuff going on. Game 5. It came down to a game 5 between those two, and it was Falcons that came out on top. So it just goes to show how tight it is in the elite when it comes down to this. Like, you literally just get 5 games to prove your worth. It's I don't know, it's one of those moments where the finer margins between qualifying, not only money, but all your reputation and everything else about getting through, having to requalify next stage, so much settled just in that one S&D map. So S&D doing more than just winning championships. But yeah, I mean, you and me are blessed this week. We get to cover these final games in the groups. And, I couldn't imagine a better way to spend my Wednesday, to be honest.
No, it's going to be a hell of a time. Let's talk about EMEA real quick. Thankfully, Group B, EMEA, it's pretty clean. With Hybrid Nations winning that game earlier, we have our 4 teams from Group B who are making it on, right? So we have Rock, Project 7, Signs, and Hybrid Nations. They are just going to be 4. Nothing we got to worry about here. Group A is where things get a little bit interesting, right? So, of course, we have here with Dark Horse versus Treaty 1, really just a seeding, discussion that's there. Kind of comes all down to Rouzan versus Night Vibes. Now, we just had this big conversation about how Night Vibes, you're 1-3, right? This is a huge moment for you. If Night Vibes win, we don't got to worry really about anything else, right? If they win, they will qualify. They hold the head-to-head over Ludi's Lions. That's there. Now, if Night Vibes loses Enigma, this is where things get complicated. But thankfully, we hopefully are doing a good job of helping visualize it for you, right? So now, if Ludi's Lions win against Clutch Rain, which I don't know how that happens, but if you manage to make that happen and Night Vibes lose, hey, guess what? Lions will go ahead and qualify. Now, if Ludi's Lions lose, which is probably most likely, and Rouzan Esports against Night Vibes win, which I think is definitely a plausibility, we get into a 3-way tie, my friend, which is there. It comes all the way down to basically the score of Rouzan versus Night Vibes to see who makes it in and who's not. And to summarize it, basically, if it is a 3-0 or a 3-1, Rouzan will make it on in. If goes to a game 5, actually with Rouzan versus Night Vibes will make it in.
Yeah, it's just trying to read this is crazy. So basically, I mean, Rouzan beating Night Vibes and Ludi's Lions losing to Telluride is very believable. I know we're on Rouzan haven't been great, and I haven't really got much to really say on them right now, but it's very possible. It's very plausible. And then it's like, as you say, comes down to map count. And Rouzan have got to find a way to do that in a 3-0 or 3-1. So basically, if the Lions lose and Rouzan go into a game 5, the Lions are then praying that Rouzan lose that game 5.
Yes.
But for Rouzan, it doesn't mean a damn thing. They'd be out anyway. So it's just again, just how tight this stuff ends up. I mean, I'm looking at this Rouzan roster as well. I'm pretty sure this is who I think it is. Yeah, it's Yasmin and Co, who, in my opinion, shouldn't even be here. So this is the fact that we're still in this situation is crazy coming into the last day.
Yeah, I mean, because here's the thing: like, if Night Vibes just wins no matter what, like both of those other two teams are left behind, right? So if Night Vibes wins, nothing else matters. So if you're the Lions, you are really crossing your fingers that Rouzan is able to clutch this one on up. And of course, in a 3-0 or a 3-1, because if it goes to that map 5, you're just screwed either way. Basically, is what's going to go ahead and happen there. So basically, if you're Ludi's Lions, hopefully you're doing your work because you got to win against Clutch Rain, one of the best teams in the region, and that's where we throw everything in a tizzy. Do we get to that point? Probably not. But hey, if you were curious what is going on with these qualification standings, hopefully we did a good job for you of helping break all of that down. Obviously, if you have any questions, please feel free to comment, hit either one of us up. We're going to do our best to try and make sure everybody has all the information they need. If group stages last week showed us anything, it means we're going to have some banger matchups that we got to keep our eyes on. And obviously, with all this permutation stuff going on, we have some great Call of Duty that we got to go ahead and watch. So, I mean, man, Enigma, I know that we are excited to get back not only on the mic, but also just get right back into Challengers here for another week.
Oh, absolutely. The Challengers this year, this feels like the best year of Challengers ever. We've talked a bit about it in previous episodes about how, this is work from various organizations and personalities around the space doing so much to lift everything here. But when the players also put on shows like this, it leaves us in qualification situations like this, we are blessed. It's going to be a hell of a week.